So, Arik, you're gathering over 1,000 people in Mombasa.
That is our goal. That is
And
our
not only
goal.
people, specialists in PR and comms.
Yes.
We can't wait, sir.
Oh, I am literally very excited for it. Very, very excited. I think it's going to be a good one.
It is. Okay, Yomi, enable your video. We start. Okay, Chief Yomi, there he is, yes. Are you in Lagos or Abuja?
I'm in Lagos at the moment. I'm in Lagos.
The conference is next week is in Abuja?
It's a place called Uyo. Uyo is on the Atlantic Ocean. It's in the southern area. So it's just below. You know, we have regions in Nigeria. We have the northern region. We have the southwest. So there are 6 regions, basically. And so we have the 3 in the northern part of the country and 3 in the southern part of the country. So there's in the southern part, you have the southwest, which is where Lagos is. You have the southeast, and then you have the south-south. Peter has been to a state bordering that. We had one of our APRA meetings there. I believe it was 2017. No, 2017 was Morocco. This could be a bit Calabar, yeah. 2016 it was. So Cross River and Akwa Ibom were one state, and then later on they split up, and so it's around that region. So Peter will be familiar with that area.
Very nice fish there.
Yeah, very nice fish. Because they both border the ocean, so seafood quite. So they also have a beach, just like what we have in Mombasa. I must admit, not as beautiful and not as, well, the stretch is quite a stretch too. It's quite a stretch.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So let's start. Good evening, esteemed panelists, Robin, Peter, Arik, and Chief Yomi. It's good to see you. And of course, our valued participants. It's a great honor and privilege to welcome you to this special edition of the PR Fundi Monthly Masterclass series. We have had this for the last, I think, 5 months running. We haven't stopped. Every month we have had a class powered by APRA. This is a strategic PR webinar. And today we are going to discuss a theme, Reimagining Africa's Narrative. So we are deeply grateful to you, Arik, and the team at APRA for your partnership in making sure that we have these classes possible. Of course, in collaboration with the PR Fundi and Node Group Consult team. So we thank you, sir, Your Excellency, for your commitment on this journey of capacity building, especially to young professionals, as we build thought leaders on the continent. These classes have been part of our build-up, especially to APRA at 50 conference in Mombasa, which is happening soon. And I think it is in the second week of June, between 9th and 13th. We're looking forward to meeting over 1,000 PR professionals who will convene to explore the future of PR in Africa. So we're excited, Mr. Arik and your team at PRSK, for what lies ahead. I'm sure it is going to be exciting. Veronica, of course, We appreciate your high-level mobilization skills. She must be out there. Veronica, thank you very much. So we are here for this class. And why this class? Maybe to give you a preamble before I introduce our panelists. For too long, Africa's story, I think we all agree, and I had a discussion with Arik for this topic. We had over 6 topics, and this is a selection of Mr. President. So it's not my selection, but he thought it wise that this is a topic that we should discuss as we build up to the conference. So Africa's story has either been told for her or told halfway, and sometimes people filter through lenses and it is reduced to sometimes nothing, or sometimes it is missing the depth and diversity. And that surely we need to redefine it as PR professionals. So today we thought it wise, participants and members of the APRA forum, that we ask ourselves, what if we reimagine the narrative of Africa? And what if, as African communication professionals, we reclaim the pen and reshape the storyline out there, not just to reflect on who we are, but who we are becoming. And we need to tell this story, no one else. And certainly this journey of shaping the African narrative is not starting now. It started 50 years ago when APRA was launched, and these beautiful and nice people were part of that journey, have been part of this journey, and they are here. Therefore, this session is not just a webinar, it's a platform to give us insights, truth, also reflect on where we have come from, because as PR professionals, we are not just people who are there just to observe, but to build the narrative. And today we are honored to be joined by a panel of global leaders. And if I say global leaders, trust me, these are global leaders in strategic communications. As I talk, Arik is in Washington, shaking tables and spilling drinks there. So these are individuals whose collective, I must say, whose collective wisdom must probably spans over 100 years of industry experience. Peter here has over 35 years of experience, Arik 20. If you add them, Yomi, more than actually 100 years of experience. Yeah, you put Robbie must have been 35 years as well. So if you add the total experience participants, we have a wealth of professionals who are going to share with us. And I will request the admin to share their profiles and bios in the messages, in the inbox, because we may not be able to, but we've been sharing these profiles really. Peter here is APRA President Emeritus, is a mentor to many of us. In fact, Arik says he's a statesman in African communication. And he's very relentless in advocating for professional excellence. If you meet him in Mombasa, you will know what I'm talking about. So make sure you register. And of course, Peter, good to see you.
Good to see you too. Thank you very much.
Yes. And Robin here is the immediate past Vice President of APRA, a trailblazer, I must say, and a champion of inclusive narratives with a deep commitment of Africa's reputation. Robin, thank you in a busy schedule to accept to come and share your wisdom.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and Chief Yomi Badejo, immediate past president of APRA, a giant in the field of communications whose leadership and legacy continue to inspire all of us across the continent and beyond. Oga, we are privileged to have you, Oga. I know you're organizing a powerful one next week, but you could spare some time and speak to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ian. Nice to be here. And I say hello to every one of you. President Arik, President Moutier, Vice President Robin, Ian, and everybody that is on the platform. Nice to be here.
So, and my brother Bade, I call him a Bade because we connect in so many ways. Arik Karan, His Excellency, the current president of APRA, a bold visionary leader shaping the present, especially the future of PR in Africa. The man behind APRA 50 conference. You inspire us, brother, and you are welcome to this webinar.
Thank you so much, Ian.
Okay, and thank you for organizing this and your team. My name is Ian Rumanyika, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host this evening. I'm a student of all these panelists that I've just read their names, and I lead an excellent team that also is behind this class, a team of PR and communication experts at Node Group, which is a PR and creative digital agency in East Africa. I paint images of communication, realities for organizations, and I'm also a lecturer in change communications. I'm happy to be here, and I'll be leading you on this. And without further ado, we welcome you. Thank you, participants. Thank you, members of APRA, for availing your time and joining us from across Africa. And I see some members across the globe. Welcome once again. Today we are marking the beginning of critical conversations that are going to build on in the next conference in Mombasa, and make sure that you register for this conference. It's going to be a mega one. So let the dialogue begin, and I would want to quickly give each panelist 1 minute just to give us an overview of the topic today, Reimagining Africa's Narrative, starting with Peter Mti, President Emeritus, sir.
All right, thank you very much, and good evening, every one of us in this forum. What a fantastic opportunity to connect. Technology has really come to make it easy for us. Reimagining Africa's narrative. So, what is the current narrative? That is the beginning question. And why? Why should we be bothered about Africa's narrative? The reason is because narratives provide competitive advantage. And the way you are perceived through narratives, you can either be competitive or very disadvantaged. And for me, that is the overriding question and the strategic question that we would like to address in our discussion today. How have we framed ourselves through narrative? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Robin, your overview and understanding of today's topic.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, and welcome to everybody. And it's very nice to be with you all this evening from a freezing cold middle of winter Johannesburg. For me, I think the important thing when I think about reimagining Africa's narrative is the importance of getting the storytelling right. So, you know, we said that this topic has been there for a very, very long time. And I think back to the first APRA conference I attended, I don't even remember when it was so long ago. We've been talking about reimagining Africa's narrative and taking control of Africa's narrative and not letting other people tell our story. And I think that it's time to stop talking about it, and it's time to do it. And I think the most important thing is getting the narrative right, getting the storytelling right. What's the story of Africa? What do we want to predict? So for me, it's exciting. I think it's 50 years of APRA, and it's time to do it now.
Exciting. Thank you, Robin. I'm telling the story right. Yomi?
Yes, thank you very much. I've listened to my colleagues. I think I agree with them. The power of storytelling is key, and we've been talking about it. APRA has dealt with it on a number of occasions. We've had workshops on storytelling. But where I'd like to pivot is the use of technology. It's one thing to speak, to tell the story, and it's another to create the platform. So one of the things that Africa was battling with is that of stereotyping. And because Africa did not have the big media, we didn't control it. It was difficult for us to get our own version. So even if we tell the story, it would have been difficult. But the technology has helped us now because with the advent of social media, digital, we also can be in control, even though we can say the Western still master it, but it affords us an opportunity and a chance. And so I would, my focus would be on how can we, leverage on technology to reimagine and retell the story of Africa.
Awesome. Awesome. This is exciting. So leveraging on digital technology to reimagine Africa's story. Yes, Eric?
Thank you, Ndugu Ian. As I pick on to what YBO has said, but I really want to recognize the presence of President Irene Lungu, the president of Zambia. So ZIPRAC, the president of ZIPRAC is here with us. So I wanted us to make known that, and Paul Mirigi and Hazel Zulu and Professor Wole. I want to pick on from what YBO has said. Technology, I think, is playing a very critical role in how we will reimagine Africa. But I also want to add one more thing. We are the continent that now has the youngest people and the youngest population that is going that is projected to even triple by 2040. Now, what we do with technology and the young people will really take us into the next level. So reimagining Africa, in my perspective, is looking at the baton and passing it on to the young people, empowering them from what we did that was successful, what we did that was not successful, giving them and setting them up with the tools to succeed. I think the young people, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, that are behind us are bolder, are quicker, are tech savvy. They have no risks. They are playing by a different playbook. And this generation is so much stronger than other continents that we just have to find a way to utilize them. So for me, reimagining Africa's perspective lies in those two, technology and the young people.
Thank you. Thank you, President Arik. And I think building from what you're just saying, I mean, for decades, Africa has been probably portrayed largely, just like Robin said, through a lens of different perspectives. Many people would say we're projected in a lens of maybe poverty, sometimes conflict, disease, dependence. So in your view, as the current president of APRA, what are the common misconceptions about Africa, and what can communication experts like us and peer professionals do to alter such perspectives and lenses? Just in 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I think some of the biggest misconceptions in my cruise around the world is, number one, Africans speak Afrikaans. So they always think that there's one language you all speak in Africa. The other one is that we live with wildlife together. So when I open my door, I will literally see a lion right outside my door. Another one is that we lack technology. Another misconception is that we are all dark-skinned and we are all pretty black. Another misconception is that we are full of corruption and we are full of poverty and there's war everywhere in Africa. People think we are poor and we all depend on aid. Look at what happened when US aid was cut to major parts of the world and how the reaction was as if Africa will stop breathing because we don't have aid. So these are some of the misconceptions about Africa. And when I look at how to change the misconceptions, I think I'll still go back to the first point when I said technology and the young people, because they're proving all these misconceptions wrong. And they're entering into social spaces where these misconceptions are, and they're checking those people to be able to say, nope, that is not Africa. That is what you say is Africa. This is the real Africa. So I would go for, number one, we have to explore the bias, the stereotypes that we have, understand where they are, and then teach people to know that bias exists. It's our role as PR practitioners to get off our comfort zone and just dealing with brands and corporates, to now look at stereotypes and bias and make sure that we are part of the process of changing that narrative. The next thing is to reposition Africa's studies in the classroom. When I was growing up in school back home in Kenya, um, when I took the history and the geography lesson, they told me everything about world history, American history, Europe history, Asia, and all those things. They taught extensively about this world history and taught me less about the African history. When I come to the different markets, like the American market, the European market, they do not learn anything about Africa other than we live on trees and we are a continent that is hidden somewhere, that is so far away, you need to take a 16-hour flight to get there. So where is our role in changing the African conversation in the classroom? Because if we start young, we start better, we start with books, we get the mind better. Then we come as our role as practitioners. How do we, each and every one of us, participate in changing the narrative, whether online or offline or in every social space that you go to and you hear something being said about a different country? It might not be your country, but it is an African country, and you not letting it slide and saying, no, that's not how Nigerians are. That's a stereotype. This is how Nigerians are. So we must all be active participants, even as we pass on the baton to the younger generation, technology people and the young people. Back to you, Ndugu Ian.
Thank you. Thank you, Arik. I think we must be intentional in changing the narrative without a doubt. And building from what my president is saying, Peter, there is no single African story. I think me and you agree that PR professionals, we must collaborate like we have done under APRA and under other platforms of PR associations like PRSK, PROW, and the Nigerian PR Association. So to build a unified and dignified continental image, how do you think, as the President Emeritus of APRA, we could be instrumental in bringing APRA in this far, but also making sure that we maintain the momentum in the last that we have built on in the last 5 decades?
Thank you very much. Let me just say something to build on what President Arik said there.
Yes.
Not long ago, I was in Singapore, and my host told me, you know, in Singapore, about 95% of us own apartments. And I told him, in Kenya, where I come from, we don't just own apartments, we own apartments and homesteads. And you know, he could not believe it, that I can have an apartment in Nairobi and a home, or even 2 other homes in the rural areas. We haven't told our stories. Let me come to APRA and where we have come from. We are now 50 years old. That's a century. In a century, a country can move from less developed to a fully developed country. It's a lot of time. And even as human beings, you can grow from a child to an adult to a father, mother, grandfather in 50 years. It's a lot of time. And I think the association has used several strategies to move and create the narrative for Africa.
Yeah.
The first thing that has kept us together moving is these continental symposiums. And the one that we are going to host in Mombasa is, I think, the 36th one. And these symposiums bring us together, and we share a lot of cutting-edge information that then gives us a new impetus. That must be sustained. And I think Mombasa will give us that momentum again as we move forward in telling our story. Now, the association has from time transformed to address the realities of time. We started as a federation. We are now APRA. And that change in brand also gave us another impetus and introduced new memberships and new inclusions. Because countries that do not have institutes or association and there are practitioners there, they can be part of the association, and they are. So that strategy is also quite critical, and I think it is helping us mobilize our people together. Yeah. The association changed the brand, which is also good. We are communications people. We know when you change brand, you introduce new momentum, new logo, new everything. But more importantly, there has been over those 50 years, very visionary and strong leadership that has propelled us to the next level, step by step. The executive councils, and I would like to talk about 2002 when I got involved in Cairo. up to the current council that is led by President Arik Karani, have had men and women who have propelled the profession forward in a very positive way. And currently, we have now an established secretariat, which is the engine of the day-to-day operation. These are very powerful strategies that have moved us forward. And then, of course, global partnerships with the Global Alliance for PR and Communication, IPRA, ICO, even Provoke Media, who has introduced the Africa Seba Awards. And now we can tell the stories of our successful campaigns. And by the way, we need to do more on that level, because I have been involved in judging many global awards. And I can confidently tell you, colleagues, that our works in the continent surpass a lot of other stuff that I've seen elsewhere, in Asia, in Europe, in the US. And so we need to showcase more, because the more we get out and tell that narrative, that story through our works, the more effective we become in conveying our messages. And then finally, active and strategic involvement of our professionals in the continent. Every year when we convene, we bring together professionals and experts who infuse new things, new thinking, new presentations, new ideas, and good discourse that we need to keep building our story. So I think APRA will stand as number one propeller of the profession, no doubt, at the continental level. And as we move forward, as we graduate from that 50 years, that half century age, we should look forward to a more fortified engagement through that continental association. And I believe President Arik and your team, you'll be obviously taking us forward beyond 50 years. But that's what I want to say about the continent and how we have moved forward and the strategies that we have used to fortify the profession.
Powerful work. I think APRA and other initiatives that they're doing to make sure that we build a unified platform to make sure that we tell our stories. And I think there are a number of African countries. I see President Irene here from ZIPRA. Thank you for joining us. That are really taking the mantle to make sure that they have those initiatives in place. The associations APRA that APRA is supporting to make sure that they stand strong in terms of governance and structures. So I think we getting there and telling the African story without a doubt is not about only building this image. It's about influence, investment, of course, identity. And what excites us is that people like Robin have been in this field of building images and reputation for different organizations, but also for the continent. Robin, the most important thing in communication, I think, is building reputation. In your view, what's about the future and potential of communication in Africa? What do you see? And what is your research saying?
So for me, the most exciting thing about the future of PR in Africa, and I'm going to go back to what Eric spoke about, is the youth. I think the fact that we have such an enormous group of young people.
Yes.
And not only young people, but young people who are intelligent, educated, energetic, and who want to be part of telling the story of Africa. So if I use a personal example, at Burson, which is the PR company I founded many, many years ago, we used to run an internship program in South Africa where we took 3 or 4 interns for 10 months, full-time practical paid work. And in 2020, when COVID hit, my staff member who ran the program, it's called Starting Block, she said to me, oh, well, this year we won't be able to do it because we were at home. It was shut down, so we couldn't employ the interns. And I thought, no, we've done this for almost 30 years. We're not going to stop now. And so I suggested to my senior team that we would make it virtual and we would expand it across the whole of our Africa network. I think they were horrified because we were all just learning how to do Zoom and Teams and all of those things. I think they thought I was mad. But I said, you don't do something for 30 years and then just stop because we've had to stay at home because of a germ that's going around. So we're going to do this. And so towards the end of 2020, we launched the first cohort of starting blocks, the virtual one across the continent. And we had 45 people join from 10 different countries. That was 10 times the number of people we'd ever had because we only ever had a maximum of 4 in our office. And we're just busy doing the 7th cohort. And this year, the 7th cohort, there are 71 participants from 16 different countries. Altogether, we've had more than 470 interns from more than 28 countries. And what's been really exciting to see is the quality of the work, the immense talent. So it's a great opportunity. It's open to everybody, by the way. It's not a company thing. It's open across the continent. It's a great opportunity for young people to work across countries. So we put the teams together so that they're diverse. But what's great and exciting for me is to see the future potential of the PR industry in Africa. It's in the hands of the youth. And we have got digital that helps us to bring people together, and they bring amazing talent to the party, which I think is going to shape the future of the PR industry.
Without a doubt. Thank you, Robin. And quickly moving to Chief Yomi, Africa must tell her story, but we must do it strategically, just like Peter is saying. There are strategies that APRA has put in place for the last 5 decades, and consistently and boldly we are telling our story. But we need, of course, to change certain things that we are doing to make it right. So in your personal experiences, which I believe have shaped your perspectives on the different lenses, what do you think is the potential of APRA to foster this narrative, especially for Africa as a continent, but also globally?
Okay, thank you very much, Ian. Let me pivot a bit. My thinking is that for us to move forward in Africa, and before I go to talk about APRA, is that we must familiarize ourselves with the problems we have on the continent. So the truth of the matter is that public relations must be seen as a solution. And I believe it's a solution. Public relations solves problems. So I always give this analogy that public relations is like an injection. So it starts off in a vial. That's the small bottles you see at the doctors in the hospital. And then a syringe or a needle at the end of the syringe is plunged into the dial. Let me put that again. Public relations in the vial is not potent. It doesn't solve anything. As it's in there, it cannot do anything by itself. So then to that vial, and the liquid potent. Now, when is it potent? It is potent when it is injected either an arm or a body part. That's when the potency kicks in. Solution tool or management tool must be potent in its application. So it cannot just be something we're talking commoditization, and specialization. So in the past, we will have we that were on the consulting side, a business will call us and say, handle our publications wholesome. But nowadays, we find that specialties are being created, and those specialties are gaining a lot of traction. So when you look at it, the pitches for those of us in consulting, where you are giving the whole game, is becoming less and less. So somebody hires a Robin, who is an expert in training. Somebody hires Peter Moutier and say, look, come and do training for us. Somebody hires someone who's an expert in, like Wole Adamilekun, he's in academics. So they hire him. He will hire you because you do crisis. So what we must, that's what I call commoditization and specialization. So, and where did we get this concept from? At least in Nigeria. In those days, we used to buy wholesale for the family. So you buy a big bag of rice or a big tin of Bournvita. But then when the economy hit, or it was biting harder, people started selling in sachets. They started selling in small packs. And the same thing will and has hit the public relations industry. That somebody says to you, I don't want to buy your crisis management service. I don't want to buy your blah, blah service. I want to just buy your research service. So that's where, for me, the industry is heading. And already we're seeing that the era of what I call the generalization. So like the GP, where you are a jack of all trade and of all, is fast eroding. So there are people who would tell you, and let me take it to another side. So there's this big cake or pie that was initially then known as public relations. And some people came and took a part of it and said, guess what? We're event managers. We are not public relations practitioners. So they cut the pie and they walked away. Some people come and say, oh, guess what? I don't want to do public relations. I'm a media manager, and would take that as taking the pie and walked away. The latest ones who have taken out of it are what you call the influencer managers.
Yomi, your network is
so they'll tell you we're not public relations practitioners, their own part. Small. And so we're in a battle for survival to reclaim lost ground.
Yeah.
Which is the charge that I know during our tenure with Peter as the president, Wole Adamilekun as Secretary General then, Robin as Vice President, and me as President, and now Eric. That's the charge we need to lead, to reclaim the lost ground. You know, it's like some people have come to rustle your cattle. They've come to take your land. And therefore, there's a dissonance in the minds of our stakeholders from the African Union that we're supposed to be engaging. And they're saying, we don't even know who you are. Are you a journalist? Are you an advertising practitioner? Yeah. Are you an influencer manager? And so on and so forth. So now, let me bring all that together. So we have a profession that people don't fully understand. And we have a continent people do not fully appreciate. So you know that we, as the African Public Relations Association, we've got a lot of work on our head.
Yomi, your network is breaking. We're missing you there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yomi. As you sort out that network, without a doubt, you're building strategic points there. I mean, we're in a battlefield, and Arik, in the face of these takers that Chief Yomi...
I finished. Sorry, I yield the floor to you. I yield the floor to you.
Thank you, Chief Yomi. So, and please make sure that you check that network. It seems to be disturbing you. Couldn't hear you very well at the end. So, President Arik, in the face of the takers and the battleground we're in, the takers, events managers, now the latest Chief Yomi talks about the influencers that have come also to take part of their pie. So, and in the rising demand of course, outcome-driven communication, how can practitioners remain relevant, position themselves to be able to provide meaningful and strategic communications to the to the continent, but also to the brands where we serve?
Yes. I think one of the biggest things that we need to do is to embrace artificial intelligence. And as we look at artificial intelligence, not to look at it as something that will replace us, but something that we can use to get the extra kick and extra mile of doing our work. And when we're using artificial intelligence, I have come to the realization in the last 6 weeks that there is power of intentional branding by using artificial intelligence. And I'm going to explain this very simply for anyone who wants to now change their perspective and outlook about the brands that they work with and how to move forward.
Yes.
Number one, I think the best thing that we should do now is to use artificial intelligence wisely and use it in a way that you start defining your brand. Defining your brand, the organization you work for, but also defining your personal brand. That's going to be important. I think that's the first stage that I was going through. The second thing that I went through was carving out a niche. Who do I want people to know me as? Who do I want my organization to be known as? What do I want my organization to be known as? You have to understand what's happening, and you have to change your mindset right now to go through all these things really quickly, because life in the PR world is changing so quick. What we were doing in 2024 is now obsolete. The third thing is you need to build a cohesive digital presence. Many people like me, and this surprises people, I don't like being in the digital space. People like Ian would be texting me, calling me, and I will be off WhatsApp for like 3 or 4 days. But this is not the time where you're off the digital space. You've got to be able to be in that digital space and build a cohesive digital presence. It is going to be important, especially when you do it publicly in LinkedIn and all those things when it comes to defining yourself and defining your brand. The next thing I've come to realize, and I've been changing also on all my platform, is communicating value through messaging. So value means, for example, if we are up communicating as APRA, what value are we giving? What are we saying? Is it something new? Is it something fresh? Are we saying it in a different way? Are we saying it in ways that people are understanding in this market? If I'm communicating through my personal posts at LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, what am I saying? Is my brand coherent with what I want to be right now? Is it providing value? So that's important. Then the next powerful thing is leveraging the community engagement and local partnerships. You cannot do it alone. You have to figure out who is going to be in your camp. How do you walk together to the next mile? So I think that is very important. And I got this lesson from someone who is in this call, Mildred. I think Mildred Mugambi. We were having a conversation with her, and she happened to just tell me how you can navigate life through partnerships and community engagements and so forth. And I didn't think she realized she knew what she was telling me. And it didn't hit me because it was 2 years ago. And it hit me this year when I was coming into a full realization of how am I rebirthing a RIC? How am I rebirthing APRA? How am I rebirthing Wikimedia, PRSK, all these brands that are associated with me. The last thing I will say is monitoring, measuring. It's so important to monitor what people are saying about you out there. You as a person, you as a brand, the brand you work for. It's so important to measure your impact in terms of how you're reaching people. Do those random things and tell people, I want you to honestly answer me these 3 questions about me. I want you to honestly answer me three questions about this brand I work for. And be open to the answers that you get. They might shock you, because monitoring and measuring and redefining and asking these questions helps you to change aspects about your personal brand or your organization brand that you would not necessarily have changed. And then just keep on refining that whole process. And I tell you, I kid you not, technology and communication is moving so quick. If you don't redefine yourself right now in this 2025 era, you might be left behind in so many changes that are upcoming. Thank you, Ian, but that's what I do think we should be doing at this point.
Thank you, Arik. I think you're spot on. So many moving parts, and we need not to be left behind. And of course, speaking of balancing the boat between the risks we face with AI and also the opportunities that we need to leverage on, maybe let me go to Peter here, my mentor. How can communication and PR be leveraged on, especially if we want to enhance civic engagement, which of course Arik says that's very important in terms of community engagements and partnerships. For a positive African narrative, in your view, how do we enhance civic engagement?
Thank you very much, Ian. And let me begin by the most important approach, which has actually just been laid bare here by President Arik. Infusing latest technology in our strategic storytelling is absolutely indispensable. You know, we are living at a time when we are defined by these technologies that are data-driven. And the latest technologies, such as the transformative generative pre-training transformer, what we call the GPT, all these are data-driven. And therefore, if we want to tell our stories and change the narrative, we must then immerse ourselves fully in these technologies and provide that data. I'll explain why. All the AI technologies are picking information, data from the global repository, and then translating that to the information that we seek. And therefore, if we are absent or if we are not massively involved in these latest technologies, our stories will not get far, for sure. If you searched today the 10 best places in the world to visit, your guess will be as good as mine, the first 10. And you may struggle to find an African place there. Yet we have Livingstone, one of the 7 wonders, because we have not provided sufficient information through these data-driven technologies. That is where we are. The era of doing our stories and sending them to the media houses is diminishing in terms of impact. So we must immerse ourselves fully in these new technologies, and they are changing every day. Every day they are introducing new aspects onto them. So that is very important. Secondly, the digital space, the digital media is very critical. And social media today is one of the most influential ways of passing information. It is actually part of us. You cannot do without it. And through these social media platforms, we are able to pass narratives in multilingual and other formats that reach our audiences. In Africa, we are a bit slow on this, and I can tell you the total YouTube content, for example, in the continent will be less than 1 or 2 countries in Asia. So we need to be present there with those positive stories, and then we will change the narrative. Of course, our ability to reach masses through our communication skills are critical. We are trained to, utilize various channels to reach mass, and those channels I've said must now employ technology. And finally, this is a challenge to us, and especially our communication interventions at the continental level. We need to reduce crisis and find out ways of eliminating certain stories that injure the reputation of the continent. I will tell you 2 cases. If I want to fly to Casablanca today, I will either go through Asia or Europe to get to an African destination. Why is that the case? Because the continent has not taken up some of the interventions that have been recommended, actually, and for some reasons, we have been slow in implementing some of these things. I have some knowledge on civil aviation. In 1999, in a city called Yamoussoukro in Cote d'Ivoire, it was agreed that African skies need to be opened up so that airlines from Africa fly to destinations in Africa as local airlines. And therefore, Uganda Airlines can fly to Cameroon without having to go through what is called BASA. BASA is bilateral service agreement. And that makes accessibility easy. Now, because of those roadblocks that we put as a continent, our image outside there is still viewed as isolated continent. It is not good for business, it is not good for communication. And I think we need to intervene at the continental level through AU or through ECOWAS, through IGAD. Communication needs to be present. And these kind of things that injure our reputation need to be very well highlighted. The other one is about mobility. If I was to go to 7 countries in Africa, I would need 7 visas. Why? The rest of the world has opened up for their residents. So, and all that requires communication intervention. Our voice needs to be heard. And that's why Yomi and I, when we started engaging the AU, we wanted APRA to get very well engraved in that institution so that we can start passing these messages. So that is, for me, critical. And that way, communication becomes strategic. The tactics are easy, but the strategy and the approach is what we need for us to be more impactful.
Thank you, Peter. Peter, I think you nailed it there. And speaking of how we strategize our communications, recently we had a debate in Uganda where the government has decided to put together a committee that is going to enable government to communicate better in terms of the PR and communications and how do they shape their stories. Because the tourism sector, for example, has faced a number of challenges because of the stories and the narratives that we push out as a country. Because you will find a headline, 800 people die of a certain disease. And that, of course, builds a different narrative. Just like Peter said, you Google and you search, you say 10 most, maybe the 10 highest poorest countries, you will find African countries there. But if you Google the best 10 destinations, you will struggle to find one African destination. And yet we have powerful scenery here. And speaking of that, Robin, with opportunities that artificial intelligence or digital communications that it is bringing forth, especially where building from what President Arik said, what should practitioners ensure or do to make sure that the messaging remains clear, it's not lost in the noise, it's aligned to what we want as Africa? Just like Peter says, how do we make sure that we position ourselves and our stories, the right stories are told, not the wrong stories? There are so many biases out there, but how can AI help us do this?
So, that's a tricky question for me. Yeah, I guess because I'm from the older generation, so AI is sometimes a little bit scary for me still, but I work with it, and so I'm getting used to it. I work with it, and I think it's all, as in many things in life, it's about balance. It's about using AI for the benefit that it gives to us as PR practitioners, but not losing sight of the fact that what we do, if we're effective as communications professionals, is to tell accurate stories and to tell effective stories. So I think that it's combining what AI gives us with the human elements, the heart. AI is data-driven, and an effective story is not just data. An effective story is data combined with human. It's combined with feeling, emotion, experience, and I think that's a critical thing for us to bear in mind when we do our work as PR professionals, is to make sure that we combine the two. And I think if we never lose sight of that, then we will make sure that we present brands with, brand values are presented accurately. Brand values are not just data. Brand values are data combined with emotion, and we have to get that balance right. So I think it's really important that we don't, maybe if I see it slightly negatively, that we don't become lazy and just use what we can get from ChatGPT and other places, but that we use it because it's valuable and then add to it the human element. So still testing the messaging, still ensuring that we're putting the human side and the heart into things, I think is critically important. And that's why I don't have any fear that AI is going to is going to take over the role of PR professionals. People sometimes say, oh, well, will there still be a job for us one day? I think there'll always be a job for us, because AI is not going to ever be able to do what we do when we add the human element. And I don't think there's ever been an effective narrative that hasn't had a human element to it. That's what makes it effective. I want to add something, if you don't mind, Ian, to what Eric said earlier about building brands and building personal brands. And Eric was talking about being intentional about it. Think about who are you? Who's the organization? I just want to say something, and that is that if you haven't thought about it yet, I'm going to let everybody who's on this call know you already have a personal brand and your company already has a brand. If you haven't thought about it and done it intentionally, then the danger you're in is that the brand that you have created might not be the brand you wanted to create. So it's far better to be intentional about it and to do it in a very systematic way, because if you don't, everything you do is creating a brand about you, and you want to make sure that you actually do a good job of it. So if you haven't done it yet, guys, there's no time to start better than today.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. And speaking of course, building narratives through storytelling and AI, Chief Yomi, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so I mean, we have in the African landscape, we have politicians who wake up one day and they make a certain narrative announcement, and which of course has continued to affect the image and reputation of Africa sometimes, or sometimes disregard the efforts that we are putting in as communicators. So reflecting on the role played by political leadership, especially in Africa, with regard to crafting the current narrative and the storyline that we are building as APRA. What is the place of communication and PR?
Okay, thank you very much. When I stepped down from my office as the president of APRA, I was, I thought I would go into retirement, but apparently my president, Ike Neliaku, had other plans for me. And one of the plans is the Nigeria Public Relations Week, which I said is happening next week. But the other assignment that I have been given is to chair something that is known as the Nigeria Reputation Management Group. Yeah. Nigeria Reputation Management Group. And what is the way he put it to me, he said, Nigeria's reputation gate has been left unmanned for far too long. And that way, different kinds of people or different kinds of things have wandered into our arena. Some have to leave, some have to be reorientated, and then new people have to be admitted. And so he set me as the chairman. So first and foremost, we had a group to birth that Nigeria Reputation Management Group, which we did last year, October 15. And we got the Minister of Information and then the Minister of External Affairs. And so one external, one internal. Now, what we've done is that our slogan at the Nigeria Reputation Management Group is reputation first, and which is where I am going. And we say that whether you're the president, you must make reputation first. Whether you're the governor, you must make reputation first. Whether you're the minister, you must make reputation first. whether you are an individual, you're a banker, whoever. So what are we trying to do? We're trying to bring consciousness to the value of reputation as a commodity in which you trade in. Because when we talk about reputation, we talk about trust. And you find that in terms of government across Africa, maybe in varying degrees, and thank God the Edelman barometer was launched just a little while ago, many people still do not trust their government.
Yeah.
Many people don't trust the media. Many people don't trust politicians. Oh, they are the lowest. They are the lowest of it all. So we brought this as a front burner. We've made the issue of reputation driven by trust as a front burner. And guess what we've now done? We've written to the government that October 15 of every year has been declared the Nigeria Reputation Day. And basically, what is going to happen around there, we're going to also hold a summit, what we call a National Reputation Summit, where we're bringing the various stakeholders together into a room, and we're bringing it to their attention that you, and forgive me, some Nigerians may, okay, let me not go into details, but acts of corruption by government officials, you may think that it's a small thing, but it goes a long way. And various, things, and even utterances by politicians or those in government, or should I call them misutterances, that a little thing you can say can ignite a whole thing. So we've also on that day, we've spoken to the government that not just within Nigeria, but outside, all the embassies, all the high commission must mark October 15 as Nigeria Reputation Day. So what we have done through that, and I'm talking about our own experience or what we're doing, is to put reputation as a front burner issue. We've written to the president and asking him to be the special guest of honor on that day so that we can speak directly to him. We're going to bring all the ministers, we'll bring the lawmakers, and then because NIPR has chapters in every state of the country, they in turn will have their engagement process with the governors who sit at the helm of the state. And basically, what are we saying to you? You must be mindful of your reputation. And we're going to relate reputation to growth, to investment drive. Because if your reputation is not right, your investment drive will be slow or poor. And we can tell you and show you in terms of data that those who have taken their reputation, they looked at it or they're doing something about it, the tendency is that they seem to be getting ahead of those who are either nonchalant or are not doing anything about it. So that's our classic case from Nigeria. This year we launched last year. So this year will be our first Reputation Management Day. We have already started engaging with those at the various levels, the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, on the importance of what we're doing. And hopefully, Ian, touch wood, they would listen this time around.
Hopefully. Thank you, Chief Yomi. I think those are strategic initiatives that Nigeria is doing, and we need to copy and paste in a number of countries without a doubt. You're telling your story boldly and consistently, and those are good initiatives that I think we need to benchmark on. And speaking of that, I see someone is posting, Veronique is posting a comment, a quote from Robin. Robin, you are a powerhouse in Africa around communications, I think. There's a quote here: there's no time to start building a personal brand better than today. And someone from Chiwe Muba, this must be a name from Zambia. Another African narrative that needs to be changed in Africa is Africa being identified as borrowers. So we need to change the narrative as Africa being identified instead as innovators. So we have a job to do, and just participants, make sure that you send your questions as we cross over to the Q&A session shortly. You send your questions, or if you want to ask a question later on in the next 15 minutes, you can raise your hand and we'll have an interactive session with you. Giles Marshall is saying, good evening, everyone. Fantastic panel. While we all agree about African youth being instrumental in changing the continent's narrative, and we are not doing enough to communicate on the channels where the youth are. So are we using the right formats in a digital world where Reels, TikTok videos, etc. have become the norm? If we cannot engage with the youth in the first 10 to 15 seconds of a video, they swipe to the next. That's a challenge that Arik, you're going to tell us in the next. How do we keep this audience engaged? Because it seems the audience we are dealing with, young population, their attention span is overly short. So Arik and Mr. President, what uniqueness does Africa present in your view to advance communication? Building from what Chief Yomi is saying, do you think we have some unique features that we can build and leverage on to tell our story globally?
Yes, so I like the fact that YBU thought that he was going on retirement and then he was brought back by NIPR. I also gave him a ring. I was like, your work is not done. You were supposed to sit in the council. So he's on call and still working, I think, for the next 3 years for APRA. For him. Robin is also on call. I remember she's one of the people I say that there's nowhere you're going, come back. I need you to lead a couple of places, and also Peter. So they're all back from retirement to really advance the work that we are doing across Africa. But one of the things that I think the media should do, and I like the way YBO said that we don't trust the media, we don't trust the governments, we don't trust the members of parliament, who I'm not going to say they are below the level threshold of not above 50% because I still want to travel freely across Africa. But I will say what the media can do is, number one, is to look for a way to balance positive stories and the negative stories. Every time I open a news channel in any country I'm in, and it's time for news, there's so much negativity that we forget we paint this negativity for ourselves and we paint to ourselves. And what the Western media does is they pick that and they run away with it. If you look at how the Western media, whenever we have a crisis here, we have a bombing, we have a shooting, you will not see blood, you will not see people in distress. There are certain levels of how they cover certain standards, and where it will be brushed off and it will be not as horrific as the scenes in Africa. So there has to be a way the media can balance the positive coverage and with the negative coverage. Tell more success stories, look for solutions, look for context into other items that are happening. So that's number one. The other way the media can do and help us in this conversation of the African narrative is to amplify the African voices. We have such great talent from across Africa that we are so not telling their stories. And I like what Larry Madowo is doing by going across Africa and looking for legends and telling the African stories. And these people that who I never knew existed. And I'm like, wow, that person is from where, doing what? And that's just one person. Larry is doing it in such a drop of the ocean, but doing it in such a big platform, the CNN platform, African Voices, and you can be able to follow all these people and be so impressed. So if we had other media looking at that way and moving in that way, it will really help us to do the success stories. Sometimes it might not be having such a powerful and a longer platform to say it, but you can use African sources in the things that you're writing about. Instead of quoting Martin Luther King, instead of quoting all those, why don't you quote Julius Nyerere? Why don't you go ahead and quote Desmond Tutu? You know, that also does help. Another thing the media can do is to diversify their news content, expand their scope of coverage, look at how to promote African narratives. And Robin keeps on saying, and I agree with her, uh, it's all about technology. How are we using it? Where are we using it? Um, because if we are not using technology, then we are just really not getting the right people. And it's very true. I think people say it has been said that the average viewer is 15 seconds. I want to tell you it's no longer 15 seconds. It is 7 seconds. It's now called the 7 second sensation. If I open my phone and I look at your video and within the first 7 seconds, I'm not excited about it, I scroll up. So that is how quick technology is making us move. And so all your content, and I laugh because I was moving the APRA and PRSK team into stopping this overloading content and telling them people don't read things anymore. People want short bites. People want something. Life is lifing out here. We are all busy. We are all parenting. We are all doing stuff here. We are all being caregivers to aging parents. We are all having work burdens. We are having social issues, friend issues. People don't have time to enter into a context of what you're writing, and you're writing to me a thesis in the span of 30 minutes that I have got to save the world. So we have to change how we are using this technology as well and embrace the 7 second sensation rule. If it's not within 7 seconds, nobody will care about it. And Robin is scared of artificial intelligence. Please, ma'am, move over. Come, come, come. We will hold your hand the way you will hold our hand when it comes to branding, because technology is good. But I like what Robin is saying is having a human element to artificial intelligence, the human side of it. And I think which is what most of us are not using artificial intelligence in the right way. They just want to reuse what they get as is, but not using the human element to get you to the next level, which is where now we all should be. Not thinking that AI will replace us, but having the AI component fused with the human element. I think those will be the best way that media can advance the agenda.
Thank you, Eric. And I think the icing on that will be got in Mombasa. Don't give it all here. I think people should register for the APRA conference. I will request the admin to please share the link of registration. We are live on YouTube. We are live on LinkedIn. I see a number of people tuned in. And of course, we thank you, participants. I'll be moving to the Q&A session shortly. If you want to ask a question, you can post it through the inbox, or you can raise your hand and we'll enable you to speak to the panelists. And speaking of negative perceptions, Peter, which of course continuously affect trade, tourism, talent mobility. I was working for one of the agencies as a consultant, and I looked at my paycheck compared to the others, and I was like, wow. So is this because, anyway, I don't know why my paycheck was that low, but this perception that we continuously create out there in terms of skilling and talent, it also affects a number of things, especially investment flows, but also cutting across diplomatic relations. So we must shape narratives, just like Eric is saying, that are diverse, capable, but also to show Africa this is a rising continent. So in your experience, Peter, and also the lessons that you've learned over time, what potential do you think African peer practitioners can advance, and what potential do you think we have to advance communication in our space or in our brands that we work for?
Thank you very much, Ian. The sky is the limit for the PR and communication people. First of all, we are living in the information age, and our services are very much on demand, but they must be fitting the client's requirement. That is the beginning point. And one of the biggest advantage we have is we possess skills that organizations and leaders can use to build trust, inspire loyalty, and lead effectively. And those are very essential skills. I have seen in my career life that when an organization, a country, or an institution sees the value of communication, then that becomes the best stop for the CEO or the leader. And therefore, it is upon us to utilize those skills properly. And then, of course, I have no doubt that we are headed to a boom, because that is the age we are living in. But we must make sure that our services fit within the needs of the organizations. And the other thing that is unique about us is that we are the only profession that can work in any sector, be it aeronautical engineering, medical, power production, mention it. We cut across. And therefore, we have that advantage. Unlike doctors, we can only work in hospitals. Engineers will probably be in construction sites. But we are everywhere, and that is a big competitive advantage for us. But the point is that we must show value and operate at the strategic level, so that then the counsel that we give will be utilized by the leaders to build trust, inspire loyalty, and lead effectively. What is trust? Trust is the natural consequence of expectations that are met and promises that have been lived. And therefore, we have an objective and a responsibility to ensure that our organizations meet those objectives, and we must be at the table where they are being decided, so that we can counsel and say, yes, this promise we can meet, this one we cannot, and therefore we have to omit it. The biggest blunder that leaders commit is to create something called say-do gap. When there is a gap between what you said and what you've done, the say-do gap is biggest eroder of reputation. Communication is what we do and what we say. And I think we have a great future. We have a great future, and it's the way forward.
Thank you, Peter. And as we come to the end of the panel session and we build to the Q&A session, Robin, speaking of what Peter is talking about, especially in terms of what we do out there ethically, I mean, PR professionals, I think they have a joke that a favorite bedtime story is when a crisis that got resolved before media found out. But before media found out, most times you find that media has not found out because there's probably a bribe involved in killing the crisis or killing the story out there. Given the nature of the landscape in terms of communication, policies and the laws that are being built around communication, especially digital communications, what ethical considerations do you think as professionals we must address?
So first of all, I'd like to say that I'm very excited and pleased to see that over a number of years now, there's been more and more effort put into defining the standards that are required in our industry, so that it's not just anybody saying that they're a PR professional, so that they are standards from a quality point of view, a service delivery, and an ethics point of view. So I'm, enormously complimentary of Irene and her team in Zambia, who've done really well getting the industry regulated. And I'm not for regulation, but I am for standards and ethical standards for making it legitimate. And I know, Eric, you and your team are doing really well as well on that front. I think that the PR industry across Africa needs more work from more countries, should be doing these things. And also, I think that we would benefit from more national PR associations, because if we don't have it from a government point of view or a legislative point of view, at least we can have a national body. And I think those countries that have national bodies should volunteer to help a neighboring country or help somebody else to create a national body so that we create more and more of them. So that would be from an institutional point of view. But right now we have ethical considerations that come from us as individuals. If you are a PR practitioner, or if I am a PR practitioner, I shouldn't need to look for a legislated code of conduct, because I should have my own built-in code of conduct. And I think that that's a really important thing to bear in mind, is that actually it starts with you. It starts with each one of us. It starts with every member of the media. And I think that we should never, for example, be proud of being called spin doctors, because the mere term of spin doctor is talking about not being honest. So when people say I'm a spin doctor, it makes my blood boil, because I would hate people to think that I'm a spin doctor, because that's the opposite of what I am. And when people talk about brown envelopes, for example, and they see it as something that's just acceptable, that makes me really angry, because that's doing something that's a disservice to our industry. And so I think the thing that's really important is that, given that we don't all have rules and regulations that we are going to be forced to comply with, let's look internally and see our own rules and regulations that come from within. If you have your personal brand has a set of values and a set of ethics associated with it, and you should never do something that would damage your personal brand. And you should also not allow other people around you to do something that damages your industry. So I think the ethical questions, the things like integrity, honesty, making sure that there's balanced reporting, all of those things are things which we as individuals have to be accountable for. Not only that we do it, but that we make sure that the people around us in our industry, that our clients, if we are PR consultants, or our bosses, if we work in an organization, making sure that they are accountable for it too.
Thank you. Thank you, Robin. Time is not best friend here. I'm seeing where Chief Yomi, just briefly, there's a question for you, and you probably wrap it up with this question. Paul Mwiriji is saying Nigeria has a long way to overcome the negative perception of the green passport holders in Africa. Where will you start in changing this narrative? And of course, you could also address the potential we have as practitioners in Africa at the global stage. How do we reflect on that potential?
Okay, when he says we have a long way to go, I don't know how, well, what is the basis for that? There was a recent report that was shown, and unfortunately I can't get my hands on it. And it talked about, I think it was in the UK, I don't know how many of you saw it. And it says that the highest number, I think, was listed about the first 20, 21 or 25 countries that basically data-driven participate in fraud. And Nigeria wasn't there. And Nigeria wasn't there. It's a case of giving a dog a bad name to hang it. If we have, so you first and foremost, let me put it like this. We are the most populous country on the continent. Yeah. I believe, Nigeria. So take a fraction of, how many people are in South Africa? Robin, please help me.
About 62 million.
Okay, 62 million. We are over 200 million. So if 10% of South Africans decide to be fraudulent, that's 6.2 million people. But if 10% of Nigerians decide to be fraudulent, that's 20-point-something million people. So he has a reflection on who, but that's not us. That's not us. There are things that even on this platform alone, the level of trust we enjoy amongst ourselves is so significant. And we're from various parts of, you have never heard that in APRA is domiciled in Nigeria. So the administrative work of it who is here, not once have you ever heard that there was something that resembled. So why would you then take us and judge us by the activity of a few people? And we've also since found out that some of these people claim to be Nigerians when they're not Nigerians. So anytime there's some issue, they say these are Nigerians. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they are not Nigerians. There are issues across board. Some people are born, well, they are fraudulent by nature. And then some people learn the fraud, and there are quite a number of them. So it's about, is the glass half full or half empty? If you ask me, it's half full. So, which is why the Nigeria Reputation Management Group is taking on this task. So while another group, which is known as the Nigeria Economic Summit Group, is speaking about economy, we are speaking about reputation. And we're saying there cannot be a sustainable economy without sustainable reputation. So let's draw attention to it. Let's say that the little things that I do or the little things that I don't do have a bearing on the reputation of Nigeria. And one of the things we're saying is that stop pointing fingers. When you point a finger or your forefinger, the other four turn back at you because you're pointing, oh, the government should this person should do that, that person, Wale should do this, that person, Veronica should do that. When you haven't asked yourself, what have I done? What can I do? I always give this very short analogy. And I attended a college that is very high profile in Nigeria. You know, it's called Igbobi College. And there's a sticker of the college on my car. So when I'm driving on, my driver is going and he wants to do something untoward, I say to him, do you remember there's a sticker of the college at the back windscreen? How? And we describe ourselves as noble Nigerians. So how can we be noble and be doing the wrong thing? So fixing Nigeria starts with me, starts with that next person, and one step at a time, we will get to where we're going. Now, you've talked to me about the practitioners. More or less, I think your question is about how does it move forward? I think I've answered that question.
Yeah, sure.
The era of generalization is over. We're now looking at specialization. And how does APRA work? What APRA is going to do is that the same way that you have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, and listen to this, the greatest export of the Continental Free Trade Agreement is services or our services. So what I have something to do in Nigeria, I can bring Peter from Kenya. I can bring Eric from Kenya. I can bring Robin from South Africa. There was a training that was got by, well, Robin is no longer the chairman, but the Boston Africa office, we did it in Nigeria because Nigeria is the market. It was given to Boston Africa. And Boston Africa said, look, we've got a partner in Nigeria. We don't need to fly anybody in. We trust him. And the client came into our office 3 days ago, and I did 3 hours of training. And we got our money. We will get our money, and they will get, everybody will be happy, and the client is happy. So we should be more specialized. And I think that's what I'll bring to the table. That's the future.
Thank you, Chief Yomi. Absolutely. Specialization. I think the age of generalization is over. So we need to specialize as Africans. And I think you're doing a great job, Chief Yomi, in building the image of Africa, the global stage. And we thank you. We'll have these conversations and more when we meet in Mombasa.
By the grace of God.
If you haven't registered for the APRA conference, the link has been shared by Amos. Amos, thank you very much. Hazel is saying, hello, great conversations. I feel that the youth have literally replaced themselves with AI. I don't know, Robin, what do you think? How can we incorporate deliberate mentorship for the youth? And that's what Hazel is saying. And also, Asari, greetings to everyone. Thank you, APRA, Node Group Africa, and Ian for this. Thank you, Asari, and good to see you once again. Great conversations, Wale is saying great conversations by great professionals. I really enjoyed listening to the discussions on humanizing AI, creative application of technology, partnerships, reputation, first mantra, balancing good and bad news, and critical matter of trust. The conversation will continue in Mombasa. Well, without a doubt, PR is indeed, Mildred, PR is indeed what we do and what we say. That said, there is need for political communications that is more vibrant, relevant and authentic to build better narratives of Africa from a governance and political front. Without a doubt, Mildred, we all agree with you. Sylvia Matovu, thank you all for this great discussion. You have set the pace for more interesting talks, building APRA. With such ideas, we should be proud of our contribution to our continent. We can still do more, though. Without a doubt, Asari again says, reimagining Africa's narrative is a very interesting topic. This means that there was an initial image that was, what was that image? So that is his question. Peter, what was that image? What were the narratives around that image? And presently we are being called to reimagine Africa. So this new narrative will require enhanced professionalism, strong, viable peer associations with established code of ethics and a concerted effort at having a united narrative, without a doubt. And then someone is asking, what does fundi mean? Peter will answer you because he also asked the same question. Peter Kawuju, thank you. A great evening for sharing critical experiences and ideas, and as we build the future, without a doubt. Anyone that wants to ask a question? So as we wind up, I will go to my panelists once again and ask the last question. In terms of just in 1 minute, really, or 2 minutes, what are your predictions for communication and PR industry in the next 10 years? Starting with Peter, your top 5 predictions or 2 predictions for communications and the PR industry in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, very heavy infusion of technology. That is where we are going, and therefore we must be tech savvy. 2 is, of course, and it is not new, but evidence-informed PR. We cannot implement programs that we cannot measure and show the impact properly. And then 3, I talked about boom. That's where we are going. And we will benefit from that boom then if we ensure that our services meet the needs of our clients. I did talk about that. And let's advise our clients appropriately. I would shudder to get a client asking me to do a 40-minute documentary at this time and age. Yet I have seen those being placed on tenders. We want to do a 40, 45 minutes. Who is going to watch that? Unless it is a match between Arsenal and Man U, that is life. Nobody else is going to spend that time watching your 45 minutes documentary. So transforming the way we do business to match the realities of the day. That is where PR is going. And that's where it's going to be in the next, not just 5, but in the next 1-2 years. And we have said it is transforming very often. We must keep to that speed.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. And what is PR Fundi? What does Fundi mean?
Fundi is a very experienced builder, a carpenter or a mason or somebody who is experienced in building. So we are builders of reputation. We are communication builders. We are experts in PR. That is what we are expert.
Yes, absolutely. Robin, what are your predictions for the communications industry in Africa for the next 2-3 years or 10 years?
I think the trend. I think the trend that already started a couple of years ago of PR becoming more and more high level in organizations and in governments is going to continue, because I think the world has become an increasingly challenging place. If you look at what's happening with, on the political stage, from a peace and security point of view, from a business environment, economic point of view, there are so many challenges. And when the world is in a place where there are lots of challenges, organizations need good, effective communications to build their brands. They need effective communications and reputation management to to maintain their brands, and then they need crisis management to protect their brands. And those things are all things that are key disciplines of the PR industry. So I really think we hold in our hands the power to create a really powerful industry that continues to gain in momentum and gain in power and move up the ladder of influence across the world. So I think it's really exciting.
Thank you, Robin. Yomi, Chief Yomi.
I'm here.
Yeah, tell us your predictions.
Well, I see money, loads of. I see more demanding clients. I also see that some people are going to encroach on our business. You remember I told you about the story of the pie, and already that is happening. The PWCs, the KPMGs, and so on and so forth. They have very strong comms or whatever they call them, teams. So I see us having to fight more aggressively for our turf to keep that pie from shrinking. And as a matter of fact, since it's often said that the best form of defense is offense, I imagine that, or I believe that we need to be more aggressive with selling ourselves, selling the value that we bring to the table, which is one of the reasons why we're doing this, which is one of the reasons why Uprise 50 is going to be such a big thing, is one of the reasons that we are having the Nigeria Public Relations Week, where we are gathering over 1,000 delegates from across the nation. It's also one of the reasons why we're having the World Public Relations Forum, which is holding in Nigeria next year, November, which will gather everyone from the world. It's an opportunity for us to speak about our profession across the continent and beyond the continent and engage so that people can see for themselves and by themselves the beauty of our continent called Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. Speaking of the pie, Chief Yomi, recently I was bidding with in a certain organization, and I was competing with PwC on stakeholder mapping and profiling. So you can see that these guys are all over. So, so we must be aggressive without a doubt, and they are going to eat our part. So, and I think Eric is saying you need to tell us where you're seeing the money, because I want to go and collect it. He cannot just see money in the call. In this call, I will allow him to exit scot-free. So, I mean, you must tell us at the end, Chief, where you're seeing that money. And without a doubt, we need to collect it and be more aggressive. And Eric, Mr. President, as we come to the end of this very beautiful and wonderful conversation, which we shall build on in Mombasa in June, and tell us your top predictions, but also how we can be part of the conference. I see Sharon shortly I will allow you to speak.
Yes, thank you so much. My two predictions are this. Number one, we will move from corporate communication to empathic communication. We are still doing lots of corporate communication as a continent. Since we've moved into technology, one-on-one communication, we will see a lot of embracing empathy in empathic communication moving forward. I started singing about this 5 years ago. Nobody thought it was serious, but now I'm seeing more organizations moving this way. Second thing that I predict in the next coming years is either one will happen or the next. We will either walk so far away from Gen Z and Gen Alpha, so far away from this generation that they wouldn't know what we were, or we will walk with them. So either those two will work. And I'll give an example why I think either those two will work. Earlier this year, we were doing a strategic planning thing with young people in our room, and we were trying to figure out, we were talking about strategy, the big goals, where we want to be in 5 years. And so everyone in the room was going around saying their sort of thing of where they see the organization going to in the next 5 years. And we were talking of this bigger picture. Then there's a bigger vision, the mini vision, then the mission, and then the key strategic drivers and everything. So we were all just going on and on. In the room was a Gen Z who was actually taking the minutes. And so we happened to just say, okay, because we are here, leaders talking, let's also ask this Gen Z what she sees in the future. And she looked at us and she said, what do you mean? I don't know. My plan now, the future, I have only, it was a Thursday. She said she only has the plan for that Thursday night. And then the plan for the weekend to go in Naivasha and really chill and have a party and come back on Sunday. That is as far much as where she has planned. This vision thing that you guys are talking about, I don't know them. I don't have any of them in my horizon, and I'm not even going anywhere with that. So we all sat down and we said, this might be the generation that we would call the forgotten generation. As we are walking here talking about Africa's next narrative, the big picture, where we are going, they're probably going the opposite direction. So we have to stop at this particular point, do a pulse check, check where these guys are going, check where their plan is for the next 5 years, because it might not be the same plan and vision we have for them. Then maybe walk with them or reroute ourselves, find a middle path. But I think it's very important for us to understand Gen Z and Gen Alpha are operating on a whole different level. They are literally redefining the game. They are quitting jobs the way they want. I have to negotiate with some of them who want to work with me, and they say they work at night, they don't work during the day, but they're so good at what they do that I have to give them a contract of doing their work at night. And they want to work Saturday and Sunday. Some of them want to work weird days. So this generation is redefining what life is. So let's now think about that. Now, I say that to say this. If you're going to miss the APRA conference, the 36th conference that is happening in Mombasa in June, you're missing a lot, because we have executives from Wikipedia, Wikidata, come learn how to do your thing and change the narrative online, how to reprofile yourself. We have people coming in from OpenAI. If you are like Robin and you need a few boosts and a few like electoral uh, electrocution. And please, nobody should go and electrocute Robin in our house right now, because I am in front of 47 witnesses. I may just be told that I instigated that. But if you want to know more about technology, ChatGPT, the VP is going to be around. We have several other key speakers, CEOs of various institutions. So we are making this a memorable moment for all of us. And all roads are leading to Mombasa between the 9th and the 13th of June. We will be releasing the speaker panels from starting next week, Monday, all confirmed, lovely program lineup. And I have to really thank the retirees on this call who I had to call from retirement to come and help us put the abstracts together and the speakers together. Robin, who did an amazing job, Peter, who's on this call, other key team members that worked with them to really put our speaker list together and help us chat what we want to do, make the program a little bit exciting. On Monday, for the first time ever, and I can exclusively announce here, 9th of June, for the first time ever, there will be a pre-conference, two pre-conferences happening at the same time simultaneously. Men in PR will be having their own male section talking about challenges of men working in PR and how to grow themselves. And there will be a women in PR event with a huge guest lineup, someone particularly huge in PR, to talk about challenges with women in PR. How do we grow from this era? So we'll be having that on the pre-conference. Has never been done before, and is a way of us equipping each other. So if you're going to miss this conference, I literally just have, I think you should just be dead, buried. Send us a eulogy. We'll come and read it in the next PR Fundi Masterclass. But I am very grateful for this space, and back to you, Ian.
Thank you. I think without a doubt, this is a great conversation. Sharon, what are you saying? I see a Gen Z here, Eric. I think she wants to say something. Sharon Jikundi, the microphone is in your hands. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for this opportunity. And first of all, I would want to thank each and every one of you for being able to free your time to talk to us. And so, yeah, as a Gen Z, as you said, and I'm looking forward to starting my attachment soon. So I'm still a student, and I'm actually surprised I was able to join this because, you know, when they were asking for organization and all that, I just crossed my fingers and I was like, just put your university data. What's your role? A student, because I am a student, and that's and I was surprised that I got the email. But yeah, thank you for the opportunity. And so I joined a bit late, but I remember Ian talking about, you know, the Gen Z and being tech savvy. So what are some of the methods that you guys would make sure you're, you know, like leveraging to make sure that you help the youth and the young people that are trying to, you know, to enter into the PR field, to, you know, be able to navigate between we have now the traditional PR strategies and methods and the digital. So what are some of the ways that you ensure that, you know, as much as you are trying to embrace technology and everything, you're still in touch with the traditional methods of PR and you simultaneously use them to ensure that, you know, you input your tech savviness into work. Yeah, thank you. And also, before I end, Arik said it's either you leave the Gen Z or go with them, please. You have to carry us because, I mean, you cannot look into the future without the past and the current. So being the current, you have to go with us into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And we'll wrap it up with the last parting shots from the panelists as they discuss. Dennis is saying, great conversation, good people, great experience. I have been inspired. My question is, when you talk about providing sufficient information to the technology and utilizing the digital space as PR practitioners, how best can we approach this in our organization? E.g., you will find some people fear the camera and the microphone, yet this is the time. So, I mean, I think Dennis here is asking the same question Sharon is also asking about leveraging on the digital space. Okay, I see Abdulaziz, microphone is yours. Please go ahead.
Hello, thank you very much. My question is can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Abdulaziz.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And my question is to Peter, straight to the point. I
You're
want to know,
Abdulaziz, you were clear, but now I can't hear you properly.
oh my God, can you hear me now? I'm still,
okay,
I'm
go ahead.
speaking.
Go ahead.
Okay, my question is to Peter. I want to know not to Peter, to Arik, the president of APRA. What is APRA doing in terms of engaging with the African Union and all their sub-regional bodies so that they can understand the power and the value of communications and reputation management as affects Africa and all the other sub-regional bodies?
Arik, did you get that?
I did.
Okay, Arik, thank you also. Sharon, I think there's an opportunity here. Arik is saying, I want to connect with you. Get in touch with Amos. Amos is going to get in touch with you, Sharon. He's on this call, and there's an opportunity to give you some mentorship there. Thank you, President Arik. And I think I don't see any other question. Maybe Peter Kawuju here is saying, Peter is saying, oh, Peter, we've already, I think, seen this comment. Asari is saying, my prediction is that data-driven communication and more empathetic communication, gleaned from Arik Karani. Okay, Arik, you have some fans there. Okay, so to wrap it up, I think Arik will start with you, and then we'll end with Peter. Arik, then Chief Robin, and then Peter.
Thank you, Ian. I don't want funds. I want money, the money that YBO was seeing. I like money. But I will answer the question that has just been asked. What are we doing in terms of working with the regional bodies? We have created what we call the Africa Union Linkages Committee, which is ably handled by YBO, who's definitely on this panel. And we're re-engaging Africa Union in terms of PR at the Africa level. So that's one aspect that YBO is leading that work. I think so much has happened between this year that we've not been able to go to Addis Ababa. It's still in our horizon. YBO and I have been planning, and we've been talking to our various embassies, the Kenyan embassy in Addis Ababa and the Nigerian embassy there as well, to kind of help us get into that space and meet the right people. But we also do have contacts from people who are in the African Union, so we are re-establishing that conversation. We are also working with the other different partners like the East Africa community. We are now also entering our work with the South African Development SADC. We are now also going to West Africa, working with regional bodies to be able to strengthen communication at the regional level. What we do have right now is a very strong East Africa Commission. And what I love about East Africa and East Africans who are here is we've already formed an association, IAPRA, East Africa Public Relations Association. IAPRA brings together practitioners from 7 different countries within East Africa who are now on one platform. We meet every year. It's sort of like an APRA. So we are now entering into our 4th year. We are going to Rwanda, which is a key element, and we are trying to get other regions to start forming that themselves. South Africa, the same thing. West Africa, the same thing. The North, the same thing. So we are able to manage our issues at that level. Then APRA will provide a strategic leadership and thought process when it comes to now the various regions and their regional bodies, and also Africa as a continent. I'll stop here, but I'm very grateful for this conversation. As always, happy to connect with anyone via LinkedIn, and also looking forward to seeing everyone in Mombasa from the 9th to the 13th. Those who want to stone me, carry your stones. I will be wearing a helmet and a bulletproof vest, and I will be in the streets just ready to see you and give you mutual combat. Or is it martial combat? I don't know. I'm sure Mildred will tell me which one it is.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. See you in Mombasa, and thank you for the support that we continue to give these masterclasses in the last 5 months. And hopefully we'll meet in Mombasa and have a number of conversations and drinks over there. Yomi, Chief Yomi Oga, your last remarks, please, in the 1 minute.
You're on mute.
Oga, you're mute.
My apologies. One of the areas we need to focus on is the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. It offers a significant opportunity for us. And like I said, one of the things that focusing on is services, exchange of services between countries, and not just goods. So I think if we missed the previous wave where we could do more business with each other, we should do more services with one another. And I think that's where is one of the mandates that the president has spoken to me about. So we really need to do something there. Integrate ourselves through services. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief Yomi. Robin?
Well, what would I say as a final comment? I'm going to go back to the personal branding thing and say President Arik just referred to me and Peter Mutier and Yomi as retirees. And I just want to say something. Retiree is not a word that's in my personal brand. I don't think it ever will be. And I saw earlier in the chat that there was a question from somebody. She asked a question, a gentleman or a lady, I'm not sure who, asked a question to each one of us. And the question to me was, what do you do with your time? But what do you do with your 9 to 5 now that you're retired? So let me just say that I never ever retired, that there are times in your life where you change what you're doing from a career point of view. It doesn't mean that you're retired. And so I'm very much still active, and I'll be at APRA in Mombasa, and anybody who wants to find out what I'm doing now, you can find out from me face to face if you join us there.
Thank you, Robin. And that is very interesting. So in terms of building your personal brand, that is something that you've wiped off, and you do not agree, as Eric was saying. We are not retirees, Eric. We continue to shape the narrative. Peter.
Well, let me close with this very inspiring statement that we are up to the task as PR professionals in the continent, and we should have that conviction. That's one. And two, our work in this continent matches the best in the world. Let us showcase our works, guys. Let us flood the World PR Awards with African entries, and I can assure you, we will overshadow a lot of works that are coming from elsewhere. And as the world ventures into Africa, let us also venture into the world. And our clarion call, one Africa, must be sustained. One Africa, see you in Mombasa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this evening. Without a doubt, this has been a very beautiful discussion and conversation, a panel of global leaders and with strategic communicators. Thank you, Peter, APRA President Emeritus, our mentor, and who continues to advocate for professional excellence. Thank you very much, Peter. We salute you. Robin, thank you for the work you're doing, our immediate past Vice President of APRA. Without a doubt, we appreciate your deep commitment to Africa's reputation. Thank you very much once again, Robin.
Thank you for letting me join
Chief
you.
Yomi, the man himself, see you in Mombasa, immediate past President of APRA. We thank you for the work that you've done, a giant in the field of communication, without a doubt. And we thank you and wish you the best in organizing your next conference next week. We look forward to also seeing you in Mombasa. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining tonight, the PR Fundi Masterclass, and see you in the next class, probably after APRA. We continue to have these conversations powered by APRA. Without a doubt, from all the panelists, we thank you, and all the organizers. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Ivan, and the rest of the team. This is our moment, without a doubt, as Africa. And as Robin said, and other panelists, the world is listening. And it's up to us as Africans to speak with clarity, confidence, and conviction. So Peter here said Africa is not a problem to be solved. Without a doubt, Africa is a powerhouse to be understood. And we have a duty as custodians of brands and storytelling to reimagine and reclaim this story so that we tell the right story out there, and also leverage on the power of AI so that our people and the next generations find a better place. Thank you very much. And thank you once again, our panelists and the members that have been on this panel. We appreciate you. Let's continue telling the African story and keep the African story alive.